On this episode of The Rugged Homestead, I'm going to be changing the oil on a 2009 Jeep Wrangler Unlimited Sahara. A lot of times changing the oil on a car can be a pain in the neck because you have to jack it up. Not on the Jeep Wrangler. It sits high off the ground, so it makes it simple to get underneath and get at everything. The oil filter is also easily accessible from right behind me. Just reach over and turn it down. Just make sure you have your oil pan set underneath so you can catch any of the oil that'll drip out from underneath. So other than your oil filter and your oil, which is 5W20, the only other thing you're really going to need is a 13mm socket wrench, and that's to open up the drain plug in the oil pan underneath. Having some gloves is helpful so that you don't get your hands dirty. Also some paper towels, because there will be some drips and you want to clean up your mess, otherwise it'll smoke. And that's really it. First thing I'm going to do though is come in here and open up this. That allows the oil to flow easier. Also, it's better if the engine's warm, and that way again the oil will flow easier. If it's cold, just let it run for a couple of minutes, get the oil moving, but careful because it can get hot. So that's why I said you want the engine warm. Two other items you might want is a funnel, so that you can put it in there when you go to fill up the oil, when you don't spill it all over your engine. And also a filter wrench. Now these aren't necessary. You do hand tighten your filter when you put it on, but over time and with the heat it can get stuck on there, so a wrench can be useful to get it off. Most of the time I'm able to muscle it off. That's the red thing right there. Like I said, it's very easily accessible. It's one of the great things about working on a Jeep. Everything's pretty accessible to you. So underneath the car here, this is your oil pan, and that is the drain plug right there. As I said, you need the 13mm socket wrench to open it up. And one of the other things you may want to use is a breaker bar, because like the oil filter, which gets on there tight after time and heat, the nut can also be difficult to open up sometime. So sliding, I use a piece of aluminum pipe and slip it over the end of the socket wrench, and it gives appropriate leverage to open it up. First thing I'm going to do is position my oil drain pan underneath the plug, so that when the oil comes out, it goes into the pan and not into my onto my driveway. So as you can see, I've got the bar on the socket wrench. Let's put this on. Well, there we go. That broke it. So now I can take this off and just use the... I don't even need this anymore. And I can just do it by hand. There we go. Oops, and I'm completely missing. And that's what you don't want to do. So now it's going into the pan. So we'll give this a couple of minutes to drain out, and then we'll close it back up, tighten it, and then move over to the oil filter. So I've got the nut back in place. I'm just gonna wipe up here, clean everything up. As I said, you That way it'll just stop any smoking, whatever. Also good to keep your parts relatively clean. Now use the socket wrench and tighten it back up. Oops. You don't want to crank down on this really hard. You just want to tighten it so it's good and secure. And that's sufficient. So now we'll move to the oil filter. See if I can do a better job of lining up the oil pan this time with the filter. And when you have a spill like this on the ground, you can use absorbable, kitty litter, things like that. Sawdust, that's what I'm going to throw on here, sawdust. Let it sit for a little while, rub it in, it'll absorb it, and you can sweep it up. I just reach down, try it, do it by hand. Yeah, so you can do it by hand, but as I said, if you weren't able to, then you can just take this filter wrench and you'd put it over the top, and then you could just turn it that way. This gives you a lot of leverage, just like using the breaker bar did. And it seems you're never able to truly not leak onto the axle. Someone can tell me how to do that. I'd appreciate it. But I always seem to get a little drip, and then I'll go back with the paper towel though and clean it up. So what I like to do is just take some of this old oil like this and just run it right around the gasket right here, and then inside the threads, because this threads onto a bolt. Just take it. Now you don't have to fill up the filter with oil. The amount of time that it's not going to have oil in it is going to be very quick, because it immediately goes under pressure and it will fill up with oil. And there we go. And so then what I do is just take a paper towel and hold it over, just give me a better grip to tighten it down. And that's it. Now we'll fill up the oil. So the last thing we'll do now is just add more motor oil to the engine. First, take out your old towel. That's how I used it. I insist on having a towel in the bottom of this. Really didn't want it to drip anywhere. All right. So put our filter in there, and then we can start pouring the oil. So you just wipe everything down, clean it up, and you're good to go for another 3,000 to 5,000 miles. In my next video, I'm going to show how to reset the oil change light in the Jeep. That can seem like some arcane magic sometime. Okay, if you like what you see, give the video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel if you'd already do so, and hit that notification bell, and that way you'll be notified right away when videos like this are posted. Okay, thanks for watching. Now if you do get a spill like I did, they said you can just take some kitty litter, absorbable, or sawdust like I'm using here, and I just rub it in, into the oil, and it'll absorb it in there. And then after a little while, just sweep it up. All right, that's it.